Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's explosive topic, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment below, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Why? Because it helps the YouTube algorithm push this video to more people who need to be aware of the rampant scamming going on in the Philippines, both by foreigners exploiting the system and Filipinas deceiving unsuspecting foreigners overseas. Let's spread the word and expose the frauds for who they truly are. Today's video is about none other than Brian Smith, the bohole scammer extraordinaire. Yes, you heard that right. He has not changed one bit from the days when the raw facts was exposing his schemes. And before we jump into Brian's long list of failures, I want to give a massive shout out to Grinding Coconuts, a channel that has done a fantastic job covering Brian's antics. They've put in the work to show the world how Brian operates, and I highly recommend checking them out. But before we get to Brian Smith, let's take a moment to talk about another guy, Scott, from the channel Scott and Divine. This guy is the epitome of desperate and delusional. He has landed himself a Filipina, or should I say, the Filipina has landed him, and now he's living in a fantasy, convinced that he's hit the jackpot. He prances around like a rock star, making a total fool of himself and completely blind to the reality that his so-called dream girl is only using him as a stepping stone to secure a green card to America. It's honestly mind-blowing how clueless he is. The irony, his channel has amassed over 500,000 subscribers, and it's mostly men just like him, lonely, desperate, and dreaming of snagging a young, beautiful Filipina because they can't get the time of day from women in their own countries. These guys idolize him, thinking they can have the same fantasy, but mark my words, Scott is on borrowed time. The moment she gets her papers sorted, she's going to trade him in for a younger, better looking guy, and he'll be left heartbroken, crying a river, and finally waking up to the reality he refused to see. Just like the many before her, they use these idiotic foreigners as they get out of jail, or should I say Philippines card. Then they throw them to the curb. Now on to Brian Smith, the man, the myth, the failure. What can I say about this guy? He's still the same down and out loser he's always been, scraping by in the Philippines, begging to survive. He has this grand delusion that he's some kind of entrepreneur, constantly coming up with these ridiculous business ideas that he convinces people to invest in, and every single one of them crashes and burns. But does he ever repay the people he scammed? Of course not. Let's take a walk down memory lane and revisit Brian's genius business ventures. The ice cream truck disaster. Remember when Brian thought he could make a fortune selling ice cream out of a rundown, barely functioning truck? He hyped it up like it was the next big thing, got people to donate to his dream, and what happened? The truck broke down constantly, the logistics were a mess, and the whole thing collapsed like a house of cards. He moved on, never looking back, leaving his investors in the dust. The pig farming fiasco. This was one of Brian's most ambitious and most catastrophic failures. He had this grand vision of running a successful pig farm. He took donations, convinced investors, and even put on a show of making it look like a legitimate operation. But guess what? He had no clue how to actually run a pig farm. Disease spread, the pigs were mismanaged, and in the end, the whole operation folded. Where did the money go? Nobody knows, but we do know one thing. Brian Shaw wasn't the one taking the financial hit. It was the people who trusted him. The tilapia farming train wreck. After the pig farm collapsed, did Brian learn his lesson? Of course not. He jumped straight into another doomed venture, tilapia farming. Once again, he made grand promises, collected money, and pretended like he knew what he was doing. And as expected, it all fell apart. Poor planning, lack of experience, and sheer incompetence led to mass fish deaths, lost investments, and another group of people realizing they had been conned. The failed storefronts and construction projects. If you thought Brian would stop after multiple business failures, think again. He then tried his hand at setting up various storefronts and construction projects. Every single one of them ended the same way: failure, lost money, and more e-begging. The cycle never ends with this guy. So where is Brian Smith today? Still living in a dilapidated house, still making excuses, still begging for money, and still blaming everyone but himself for his failures. He has not progressed one bit since the days of the ice cream truck. The only thing he's succeeded in is scamming more people along the way. And let's not forget the endless e-begging. Every time one of his ventures crashes, he has some sob story about why he needs more money. He'll go live on YouTube, play the victim, and pretend like he's just an innocent guy trying to make it in the world. And gullible people, they keep throwing money at him. It's astonishing. The guy is a soul who does not even have the decency to look after himself. So, how can he look after a business? The guy wears a t shirt that looks like it is from prehistoric time. He never changes it, and it looks like it has never been washed. Brian is the poster child for what not to do in life. He represents the worst of the foreigners who move to the Philippines and try to manipulate the system instead of making an honest living. He survives by scamming, lying, and failing over and over again. And the sad part, there are still people who believe in him, but not us. We see through the lies, and we're going to keep exposing him and others like him. I hope that the viewers will use this video as a learning exercise, not to be scammed by the likes of Brian Smith or get trapped by a beautiful Filipina telling you how guapa you are, or that age is just a number and she liked you because of your personality. Don't fall for the tricks of these people, because it will always end the same way. You being parted from your money and maybe even ending up heartbroken. So what can you do? If you see someone like Brian Smith or Scott from Scott and Divine trying to sell a fantasy or ask for money, do not fall for it. Spread awareness, educate others, and make sure these scammers don't get away with their schemes. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get this information out there so more people can avoid being scammed. Until next time, stay vigilant and don't fall for the lies.